Okay, welcome everybody to the August 14th LF Decentralized Trust Technical Advisory Council meeting. Everybody's been on the call before, so you all know the rules, but two things that we have to abide by. The first is our antitrust policy. So we need to be aware of and not participate in any activities that are prohibited under any of the antitrust and competition laws across the world. The second thing that we have to abide by is our code of conduct. While everybody is welcome here, it is important for us to treat each other with respect um, and follow the rules of the code of conduct, which are linked in the agenda. For announcements today, we have the standard Dev Weekly Developer Newsletter that goes out each Friday. If you do have something that you would like to include in that newsletter, please do leave a link or a comment on the wiki page that is linked in here in the agenda. The second announcement, I don't know if you've noticed, but the TAC website has been updated to make docs, make docs for material. Is that how it's put together? But it's been updated, and so if you are looking for things, they are still in the same location, but the format no longer requires the Jekyll front matter, but there is a makedoc.yaml file that you would add new files to. So just for your information, if you are doing a PR or something, you'll probably need to rebase to the latest. And then, yeah, I think that's the announcements that I have specifically. Does anybody else have any other announcements that they would like to make? Okay, if not, then we'll go on to the reports. As you can see, there are some outstanding quarterly reports that we need to be reviewing. I think the Aroha one actually came in yesterday night as well. And so there's an additional one there that you'll need to review. We have some reports that are overdue. I believe, Arun, that you reached out to these folks to let them know that on Discord. Is that correct?
Yes, Tracy.
Okay. But this is a topic here. It's actually the first topic that I have in our agenda is just a hard discussion. I'm not usually somebody who's mean about things, but I do think it's time for us to recognize the fact that we have not been doing our jobs very well here with quarterly reports when it comes to reviewing them in a timely fashion. Specifically, I know that we have some reports that are still out there from June. We in our governance documents in the TAC website, we say that we will give the TAC 2 weeks to review before we will merge, assuming that we have more than 50% of the people that have reviewed the project updates and that there are no outstanding comments on those. So some of these I think have outstanding comments that are waiting for the maintainers to address, but most of these are because we at most have gotten 5 people to review the reports, the quarterly reports coming in. As we need more than half, that would be 6 at least that we would have coming in before we can merge these. And so we do need to step up the work that we're doing in reviewing these in a timely fashion. I would expect that we could get at least 6 people to review in 2 weeks from the submission time any PRs that are coming into the TAC in either the governance repo or the project updates, or not the project updates, the project proposals repo. And we just haven't been doing that this year, and that's not a good look for the TAC. Makes it really hard when Arun has to reach out to people about their overdue reports when we haven't done a good job in getting back to them. They don't really see the benefit of doing these things and letting us know what's going on in those projects. if we don't take the time to review and ask questions and see if there's things that, you know, we should be looking at. I also know that when we did our annual reviews, there were some of these projects that were borderline, right? We said, oh, well, we check them out in the Q2 reports. Well, if any of these projects, and I believe there was at least one of these projects was a borderline project, and we haven't reviewed it yet, that's probably not a good look either. So yeah, I guess this is me being the difficult, mean TAC chair this week, letting you guys know that I'm very disappointed in the work that we've been doing as a TAC. You know, I'll stop here, see if anybody has any comments, any questions as to why these things are important. You know, just yeah, let me stop talking for a moment. Okay. Yeah, if you haven't already, make sure that you're signed up to get notifications from GitHub on both the governance repo and the project proposals repo. This will allow you to see, you know, when they're submitted, those requests that are coming in and asking you to do the reviews. You know, there's multiple ways that you can do this, but I think that's probably one of the easiest ways. You know, another way is obviously GitHub. If you are in some way subscribed, will notify you as well. If you are spending your days in GitHub. So yeah, just, you know, be a bit more diligent in what we're doing here and make sure that that's something that you're looking at on a weekly basis. Okay. Yeah, so let's continue with the discussion for today. So the Loch Ness annual report. Rama, I did see that there was some back and forth on the channel, on the Discord channel. Would you like to bring us up to date on those discussions?
Sure. Dennis responded to my question earlier today, and he's now gone through the comments that we had, as well as the review of his report. And he says he's been working on some of those, as he's mentioned in his own comment at the bottom of the thread. What he asked whether we wanted to wait till he finishes some of those tasks. I said that's probably okay if he can just acknowledge that he's working on them, and we can merge it for now. So again, if any of you have any objections, let me know. Otherwise, what I think we can do is, and this relates to the quarterly updates as well. He missed the last quarterly update, which was sometime in June, and he said, first he asked for the calendar, so I pointed him to the updates calendar within this repo, and he said he asked if he could just go ahead and skip that missed review and instead submit the next one. And I think the next review is due for him in early September. So I thought that was okay, but just wanted to get the TAC's opinion. If we do let him do that, then I think we can revisit these some of the suggestions we made against the annual review when he submits the Q3 review, and we can just merge this for now. That would be my suggestion.
Okay, let's take those as two distinct items. The first one, it sounds like you are good with us moving forward with merging this annual report, keeping Loch Ness in incubation status. Is that the correct outcome for this?
That was our assessment in the if you scroll above, that's what he said.
Okay.
Further below that, yeah.
Okay. And then Char, I know you were the secondary reviewer on this. you in the same mind?
Yes, I agree. I think his comments do a good job of addressing what our feedback was and acknowledging that the project is moving forward in those ways. So yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right, so typically we've done in the past just a motion and a second for approving the annual report and leaving the project in the incubation status. Can I get a motion and a second so we can vote on that?
Motion.
Second.
In the matter before the TAC, which I believe is to merge this report, leaving Loch Ness in the incubation status. All those against, please say nay. All those who wish to abstain, please say abstain. And all those who agree, please say aye.
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 The motion passes
Aye.
on a voice vote. Oh, thank you.
All right, thanks, Rye.
Yep.
So regarding the second one, which is the skipping of quarterly reports, that's not something that we have allowed for in the past, unless
Right.
we have a discussion about whether or not that project should actually potentially move to labs. I think is we've never really done that in the past, but we have in this particular term of the TAC. So I do, question the time because that was the specific call out that Dennis had around the concern with doing a quarterly report for Q2 is that he doesn't really have the time to do that. And so, I know part of the difference between labs and incubation obviously is that quarterly reports are not required. Now I do not know anything else about kind of where they've been since the annual review, right? Like how is the project running? I do know it did take us a while to hear back from them on our comments regarding the annual review. So I am a bit concerned to say, yeah, it's not a problem. You're only a month away from, a month and 5 days away from your next quarterly report. Go ahead and skip it, because I think that sets a bad precedence for the TAC to do that. I think a lot of projects will start standing up and saying, oh, well, we don't want to do our quarterly reports. And I think it's really important for us to be able to know that people don't want to do quarterly reports because something's going wrong with the project. And so that's why they don't want to do it. I think, the reason for quarterly reports are to understand if a project is starting to have problems and to be able to address that sooner rather than later. And so, yeah, I think that would be my concern with agreeing to that, but I'd love to hear others' thoughts on this topic. Rama?
Yeah, I generally agree with you. It's just, I guess the next report is due in less than 3 weeks from now. So how do you want to, what do you want to recommend to him? Because
Yeah,
if he asks, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I thought the next one was the 18th of September, is it?
I thought it was the 5th.
Maybe I was looking at the wrong project. So I guess, there's this other question of, can he do both of them at the same time, right? Like it's Q2 and the Q3 report at the same time. That's probably the thing that I would shoot for, right? Is to try and get them both done. And then, it's not a concern. I think you could click on,
So Tracy, I
yeah.
have a hand up here. I think I just want to say that I think it's important, even if it's delayed, that the quarterly reports say adhered to, because they are point in time reports as well.
Yeah.
So the metrics for the Q1 or Q2 or Q3 or Q4 are going to be definitely different. and so they show us progress, and I would hesitate again to cancel a quarterly report.
Okay, yeah, I'm of a similar mind. Daniela, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I put it down because I was going to say the same. The other thing is, we can speak to the maintainers and let them know that this is the case, and I agree with it. But perhaps ask them to come and to talk to the TAC, and present their 2 reports in one short presentation, and so that we, so the TAC can then address in real time any questions or see how we can be the most helpful to them. Would be possibly a recommendation for these projects. I don't know if we've invited any of the projects that have been a little bit delayed or to come and have a in-person conversation with the TAC in the past. And I'm happy to reach out if that's something that's the TAC would like to do.
Okay. Hart?
Can we emphasize that these quarterly reports are not supposed to be Shakespearean masterpieces? And that, like, if you're busy, it's better to just kind of like throw something together, even if it's not perfect, than to not do it. I sometimes worry that people feel like they're going to like be judged on the quality of this more than, more than not doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I know that we do have a bit of information about how these project updates are used in our governance document, which I did paste in the chat. I think that's the other piece for some of the new projects is maybe they don't understand how these things are used. But I do use them for many different purposes, right? I use them for the governing board to provide them updates. We have monthly governing board meetings, and part of those updates from the TAC are about what our projects are doing on a quarterly basis so that, the governing board is aware that good things are happening and specifically what those good things are. We also will use them in things like providing updates at events. So things like Member Summit, we've used them in the past for just letting people know the sorts of accomplishments that these projects are going through. We know, obviously, that a lot of the work that's being done by these projects is not necessarily known by a lot of people. And so the other piece of this is because they are available on the website, anybody can come look at it and see. We used to have a learning and materials development working group that actually would point people to the project updates when they wanted to get involved with projects. Just, have them check out what projects are working on, what they've been doing and things like that. And I think, those are pieces that maybe these new projects aren't aware of, and we just need to let them know that these are the sorts of things that they're being used for, so that they don't feel like this is just busy work or something like that. And as Hart says, right, it's not something that they have to spend a whole lot of time on. Just talk about what they've done in the past 3 months and what they're thinking about doing for the next 3 months. That's really what this is all about. And so, I guess, at the moment, I think we're all in agreement, and unless somebody speaks up now, that we shouldn't allow them to bypass the report that was due in June. And Rama, I did see you were right. September 4th, I must have been looking at the wrong project. Is when their next one is due. But yeah, I do think that they could start working on both of those at the same point and put those together. So yeah, anybody disagree with that? Rama?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I completely agree. I was just wanted to reemphasize what Hart said. I think we should really communicate to the maintainers that it's not hard to put a quarterly report together. Can do it within half an hour. So, I don't know what the right medium of communicating that is, but we should try and do that.
Yeah. Rama, do you want me to reach out on the channel and respond with the discussion on the TAC, or do you want to do that? How do you want to approach that?
I'll let Dennis know that he is still expected to submit the Q2 report and the Q3 report in 3 weeks' time. So I'll ask him to, I mean, if he has any questions or if he wants to say something else, I'll ask him to comment on the TAC channel.
Okay, sounds good. Diane?
So I'm wondering about the status on the trust over IP report,
Mhm.
because they've been outstanding since March. And I know there's been some discussion about that, but if we could also let them know it doesn't need to be a Shakespearean piece, and at least get those in as well.
Yeah, I agree, Diane. I think we've got trust over IP. Their annual report is overdue. They never did one. The Q2 report's overdue. I'm pretty sure we're getting close to their Q3 report being overdue as well, which implies that we have no idea what trust over IP has been doing for this year, and that's definitely not a good thing. So, Wenjing, I don't know if you can help us communicate to the TSC for the trust over IP, or if there's something that you need to attend a TSC meeting and have that discussion. But I'm, happy to do that if that's what we need to do.
Yeah, I think there is a so I obviously first reported some progress, and there was a discussion about some of the format or parameters or data reporting were not readily available or may not apply to trust of IP very well. And so we had a discussion and sort of have at least a draft template of what data to collect. That was the most recent progress, I think. So that's one thing. Then the second, I think right now is a lot of people are on vacation probably in August. But one good news I would say is definitely this, the project is doing well. There's a lot of good progress going on. But we sort of haven't gone over the hump of having these data, readily available and filled in, and that's where we are. I can definitely reach to the people who all their names have been put forward to complete the report, and hopefully as we get back to the end of August, I think that first round of report will show up. Just trying to remember this is the first time they're doing it, so that naturally there will be more questions. But I think once the format is agreed to and what it's known for it, what data to be reported, and mostly because of the data portion. So we do have a report actually much longer and much more comprehensive, but doesn't fit your format. And that's what we're stuck at the moment. Anyhow,
Yeah.
I definitely can go, push again and have that filled in.
Yeah, Wenjing, I would say that I at this point I don't know that we're as concerned with the format and having all the data. It's just the understanding, right? So if there is something that's out there, I would suggest that gets submitted as is, so that the TAC can understand it. And maybe this is a place where we also take Daniela's suggestion and get the trust over IP team to come present to and talk to the TAC at a future meeting, right? Obviously, when people are back in September timeframe. But just I think it would be very useful to have that conversation and see, what it is that we as the TAC could be doing differently for trust over IP. And then also just to understand what's happening in trust over IP as a whole.
Yeah, I think that probably is a good idea. So we don't get stuck on these technical technicalities.
Yeah.
That's what, the problem is that that's what it's written there. So a lot of people have concerns of if we collect this and that data, whether that be meaningful or misleading, or those are the issues I think slowing people down.
Yeah. I mean, really, in the end, these reports are about understanding, the annual report's about understanding what happened last year, right? And looking forward to what's going to happen this year, if you will, right? And then the quarterly reports are just updates to say, yeah, we're working on the things that we said we were going to be working on, or hey, something came up and we decided that that wasn't as important. And so now we're working on this other thing. Right, that's really what these quarterly reports and annual reports are all about. It's just making sure that projects are staying on task, right? That they're doing work and things are good, right? And that they don't need any help. That's really what we're all about here. So I think, when it comes down to things like format and what data should we put in there, what data should we put in there, that's not the important part, right? The important part is, are you meeting your goals? Are you still working towards those goals? Have those goals changed? Are good things happening, right? And that's what we want to know about. Or on the flip side, some things that are not so good are happening right now, and we want the TAC to know about that. And these are the things that we're doing to address those not such good things happening right now. That's really what these reports are all about.
Yeah, I would say that maybe let's shoot for like September sometime. One of the meetings in September for an update. We should be able to do that.
Okay. Is there somebody specific that I should reach out to on the trust over IP side to get that on the agenda?
I would say the start or Drummond maybe is the best bet.
Okay.
I think I was on vacation for long periods, so may not be responding. But I think they are both. We should be able to get back to you.
Okay. Wenjing, if you wouldn't mind just shooting me their email addresses, I can send out an email address to
Yeah.
them.
How about I will send out the email and they'll copy all of you.
It sounds great. Sounds
Yeah.
great.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else on, I guess, reports at this point? Okay. If not, then the next item is the HIRO graduation request that came in. Yeah, Hendrik, you submitted this. Do you want to talk us through what you've got here and why you think HIRO is ready for graduation?
Sure. So what we did here is so we had a look at the other graduation report existed from Hypergadget and used that as kind of template to create this graduation report here for HIRO. And in the report we tried to have a look at different sections of and aspects about the project and try to describe why from all of those topics we believe that the HIRO project is in a state where graduation or moving it into graduation from our point of view would make sense. Maybe some information where we're coming from. We had the annual report from HIRO where we get from all of you a lot of very good feedback, and most of this feedback was like, oh, maintainer MDs are missing, things like OpenSSF scorecards are not linked everywhere, and things like that. And we used the the time since the review of that report, not only to move the project forward, onboarded a new community project and new members and companies, but even used the time to work on all those issues, to, you know, have everything that came up in the last report now settled down, so that we believe we, as I already said, we're in a good state here. So I've seen some people already looked at it, and we already got a comment regarding that more details about the diversity and community. Oh, thanks for that. Would be great. And I did an update like 2 days ago, where we used some information and numbers we received from the Bitergia tool that we are using to track the community and the project. We already, or not we, Jessica in special here, already contact LFX, that hopefully we can get those information out of LFX in future. But what you can see here is, and those information are really all not like since the code exists. No, it's since it's an LFTT project. So we all our analyze starts in September last year. And as you can see, yes, Hashgraph for sure is doing the biggest part of the work, but we are currently successfully added new companies contributing to it, and the work of those companies is growing and becoming bigger and bigger, especially with the community projects we onboarded. So next to the, oh, what was the number? 16 maybe projects we onboarded coming from Hashgraph. We onboarded multiple additional community projects to it, which allowed us to even have, as you can see here, maintainers not coming from Hashgraph. We added several maintainers from LimeChain, and with 8Bs and Hashgraph Online, we have maintainers coming from, you know, totally different companies who joined Hyro after we created it. And currently there's even one PR open, because we have this nomination phase for having people becoming a maintainer for another one who is from a company that is not shown here at all, which shows that we don't stop here, right? We even try to move those diversity when it comes to contributors and maintainers more forward. And if you go to the document, maybe, there you can see, so why we have in each and every README OpenSSF scorecards, we have a list here too. So if you scroll down, here we go. You can see that we created the OpenSSF reports for all our projects. Actually, there are some projects where, so if you look at this now, we have the Hyro improvement proposals quite in the center of the screen, which first of all looks like it has a not that good score, which is a 4.9. Actually, that repo is a documentation repo. So we have some repos, since we did it for everything. We have some repos here that do not have the best score, but those repos with a score like under 5 are really about documentation and not really code repositories. We currently have as our goal to get a score from 7 or up for all our code repositories. And as you can see, we have a lot of 6.9. Those are the like very hard 0.1%, where especially Jessica and I are currently trying to even move that forward. So another thing that happened, what I really like, is while the code came from Hedera, and the Hedera network was the one and only network using that code, if you see now at this real world use that starts here, we now have one second product we know about, which is HashSphere, that is using the code of Hyro and use it to maintain private network for business customers. And my assumption is that in the future, we will see more of those projects coming up where people are using the code of the Hyro network to create private, internal, or maybe education networks. So we're now at a point where it's not only Hedera anymore. We have several networks now already running that source code. And for sure, since it's written down there, since February, Hedera is running for 100% on the source code and on the releases happening in Hyro. And for the maintainers, or no, let's say like for the contributors, we were even able to onboard several companies coming from the Hedera ecosystem. I put some examples here if you scroll down a little bit more, like this Agecraft company that does or that creates products or started with creating products around the Hedera network, who now committed to Hyro and now saying we create products around any Hyro-based network. And that company with Brendan Davenport filled our last seat on the TSC, where we were able to grow the TSC from a start of 6 people now to 9 people, and all 3 people we added to the TSC represent companies not have been on the TSC before. So like 3 new people, 3 new companies, what even creates more diversity. Maybe that's as a general overview about the state and about why we assume moving that project to graduation state would be a good fit. Are there any comments or questions on it? I see a hands up, Tracy.
Yeah, it's me. So I guess my question is around these additional maintainers
Yep.
that have been onboarded. Have they been onboarded for the core of the code? Have they been onboarded for these new kind of community projects?
Mhm.
Where are they, and you know, what is the goal to make sure that the core pieces of Hyro are
Yeah.
covered by maintainers that are from different organizations? The reason I ask this is because I think it's important that, just given, you know, what we've seen in the past, what we see is happening currently in some of our projects, where a single company that has been kind of the main driver of a project has had to step away because of whatever reasons, financial,
Yep.
switching the direction of their focus, that sort of thing, right? Once that happens, then a project kind of ends up in a state where it's very difficult to really maintain that forward progress and move forward. So really just want to understand where these maintainers are focused, and maybe how long they've been focused on doing that work.
Yeah. So I assume we cannot switch here between core and those new projects coming from the community, because I would like to split core between the consensus node and our SDKs. Because what we achieved is, especially for the SDKs, that we got a lot of, you know, additional contribution, even new maintainers and maintainers coming from the outside. For the core, we achieved it like getting people from line chain on it. I assume it's about, you know, the SDKs are what people are using. And on the SDKs, for a lot of people, that is more interesting to contribute to that, because that is, you know, what they are using, that is maybe exactly written in the language they understand, and so on. So first of all, we achieved to getting new committers and maintainers on the SDK projects from the outside, next to the projects we onboarded. So it's not only the onboarded projects, we have it on the SDKs that came from Hedera too. For the consensus node, I totally agree with you. That is one of, I assume, all-time goals that will never stop to get that more and more diverse. And I see that Diane has hands up. Maybe she has some good insights from Bitergia about that special project and what companies, because I know that companies have committed to it. Diane?
So two things. First, yeah, we can go back in time to the beginning 12 years ago and look at the evolution of contributions to the core. But what I actually wanted to say was address something that Tracy mentioned just a few minutes ago, is with maintainers or companies walking back their commitment to projects. I think in this instance, the Hedera network and the Hedera Foundation are committed to, because they're running the network on this code base, to maintaining it for the long term. And it's slightly different than in other projects where people have organizations have walked away from their commitments to funding resources to work on the project, and has left some projects hanging a little bit. I think in those instances, the companies were not dependent on the code base that they were deploying for a network or for a product or a service. So I think this is it's not a special snowflake, because there are other instances of this as well out there in the Linux Foundation. But especially in this case, Hedera's commitment is pretty strong to funding engineering resources to work on the core, period. Whether it's LimeChain or Hashgraph, Inc., or Open Elements or other projects. So I just wanted to stress that here. And, you know, as we are working on the contribution ladder and the maintainer, retaining the maintainers aspect of this, I think you'll see a very strong commitment, and I hope you do, from what Hendrik and I have been participating here, that we are really committed to bringing and onboarding and training people up to work on the consensus node and on the core bits. That is a very strong goal for the Hedera Foundation.
Yeah. Yeah, and thanks, Diane, for that. And I believe we have a lot of success stories here. Like, so I'm, for example, currently working together with a university in Africa, and we started with hackathons of the people. Then they did contributions to some smaller projects. Now, one of them did bigger contributions to the Java SDK of Hyro. So to one of the points, we are moved from Hedera to Hyro. And sure, the next step, you need to start small, right, with those people. And one of the next step is then doing the first contributions to the consensus node. And that is what we're trying to achieve here. So next to what Diane said, I totally agree. It's a high commitment from the companies working on it here. But next to that commitment, we even try to get more and more people involved. Does that answer your question, Tracy?
Yeah, I think I have a feeling for where these maintainers are focused. It just to make sure that I do, I'll try and repeat kind of shortly what I think I heard, which is that mostly the work on the consensus node is being done by Hashgraph with the attempt to get others participating in that. And the additional maintainers are mostly focused right now on other pieces, be that the SDK or the other projects that are coming in. I think that's what I heard, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a fact. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then, since I don't see any other hands coming up, I'll ask a second question, which is about the Hashgraph. I think it was, no, it was in the kind of the new instances that are running. That you said
You
there's
mean
this new company who is creating the permission networks for companies. Are they looking to contribute to the consensus node, or are they only focused on kind of running the networks, and so therefore aren't focused on you know, things like contribution and potential maintainership in the future? So I guess what I'm thinking is this particular company could be a place where you might look for additional maintainers if you haven't already thought about that.
Yeah. So 2 points. So this the hash sphere, so this
That's what it was.
network as a service is coming from Hashgraph Inc. So it's not coming from
Okay.
Hedera, but coming from Hashgraph Inc. And so that company is already target, right? So, but we have, as an example, what we see currently at the bottom, this Hcraft company. And what they are doing is they work on the server side too, because they now using not the code from the consensus node at the moment, but they use the code from our mirror node and from our JSON RCP relay, so from the 2 other components we have on the server side. And their idea is to provide hosting for those and provide professional services for those. If that is working, go the next step to consensus node, I would totally wish it, but I cannot give a guarantee here.
Right.
Diane.
So to go back to Hashpack, not Hashpack, HashSphere. I got to get my hashes right. HashSphere is a product and service of the Hashgraph Inc. organization, and they are selling and deploying that for a number of companies, and some of those companies, which I can't say out loud, are beta testing and leveraging it now. Those are what we would call end users of the Hyro code base, and some of them have been very active in our community already. So I would expect as they get success in their product offering, there will be a number of end users who will have public references and become adopters, if they're not already, on the adopters file for the Hyro project. Whether they become maintainers of the consensus node is another aspect of it. That's pretty much what they're paying Hashgraph Inc. for by purchasing this this product. But I do think the HashSphere product is going to grow our community in a very healthy way, as well as the usage of the Hedera network.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other things hopefully coming. So like last week, I had a lot of discussions with the people from Identus, and we currently discussing, can Identus be running on Hyro, on a Hyro-based network? And maybe that even needs to create some new services in consensus node or whatever. So there was, and maybe then the people from Identus will do some contributions on the consensus node. But again, nothing I can guarantee, right? So we have currently several of those discussions going on. And as Diane just said, for the HashSphere I'm not allowed to say the current customers because everything is in a kind of like beta phase at the moment at customers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Understand. Okay, thank you for that information. Other questions from the TAC?
Sorry, I stepped away for a moment. Did I miss something?
No, you didn't. I was asking for any questions from the TAC members, so
Okay.
nothing yet arrived from you. Okay, I guess no other questions at the moment anyway from the TAC. I think there's two things that we as a TAC need to address when we look at whether or not a project graduates from or should graduate, right? The first is, I think, covered very well in the documentation that's been presented here in the proposal. The second thing I didn't notice being covered, but is the information that we have in the project lifecycle about what we require to move from incubation to graduate it in regards to things like I think the OpenSSF scorecards are there, but the details behind them are not here. So specifically, I'm thinking about things like the security requirements that exist that we say they need to be at a certain level before we can move forward with moving a project to graduation. I think there's some other ones in the project lifecycle as well. Has that been covered? Did I miss it in the proposal, or that's not been specifically covered here?
I do not exactly understand
Know what I'm
you.
talking about? Okay,
Yeah.
let me, that's fine. Let me find the page so we can all bring it up and look at it together, because yeah,
So
I just,
there
go
is a
ahead,
section.
Diane.
There is a section with the Open SSF in that report already.
Yeah, I understand. Let me put this link. Let me copy the link and put it in chat. Yeah, right, you're just about there. So there's a section here on the kind of criteria for the OpenSSF
Yep.
scorecard. Oh, right, it's in the project lifecycle. And it's in, if you scroll down towards the bottom, closer towards the bottom after the archive section, this lifecycle transition guidelines and recommendation. If you keep scrolling, there's a bunch of stuff about what we expect scores to be and things like that. That's the specifics I think that I'm asking about, is this section here that covers it. So like, I think we've got the high level OpenSSF score, and it's the detail behind that OpenSSF score that I think we need to dig into and just make sure that we understand where things are at before we probably move forward.
Yeah, I mean, the problem we have here, oh, no, it's not. I mean, the thing we need to discuss here is we do not have one OpenSSF scorecard, right?
Yeah.
So, I assume most of those things are fine for every of our scorecards, right? But when I say the number of organizations from which maintainers are drawn must be at least 3, I cannot guarantee that this is for any of our sub-projects true, right? In total, for sure, that is true, absolutely. But we do not have an OpenSSF scorecard which merged all the scorecards together. And as far as I know, that is not even possible. I see Jessica has hands up.
Yeah, this is most a question on how this information is expected to be presented to the TAC. So, for example, I know that the information about how many maintainers, how many organizations are participating in each one of the repos. I mean, that information, it's reflected in the maintainers MD file, for example, which have been updated, and other information that is required here is presented by looking at the OpenSSF score. But I'm wondering if the TAC is expecting us to gather all these details from all these different sources for each repo and present it like as a table, or because I couldn't find anything where other projects are doing something similar to use as a base. As Hendrik said in the beginning, we used already an existing project proposal to base ours from, but I'm wondering if the TAC is expecting us to collect all this information, which is available. It's just a matter of collecting it from all these sources and presented it in a way.
Yeah, so I think you are the first project to hit this, because this is just, this project lifecycle score just got created at like the end of last year. I think the TAC approved it. So you are like the guinea pig to see whether or not this is actually going to work for us or not, if you will. So no other project has done this before. This is a first, and so yeah, I don't know that I could point you to anything. I think that when we were putting this together as a task force last year, and Rama, I don't know if you're still on the call or not, but if you are, you can help me remember. But I think we were looking at the LFX insights. For the project itself, there's information in LFX insights that would allow us to help understand some of this. So I think sometimes when we say OpenSSF scorecard, we're really talking about the information that's available in LFX for the project. But Rama, am I remembering that correctly?
If you go back to the criteria page, I think every bullet point is prefixed with the source of the information. It's either OpenSSF or manual. Just means that you need to go and look at the project repository. And I think some of them are, structure, there's an LFX insight. So
Okay.
I think these were the three sources. I mean, the two sources, LFX insights and OpenSSF scorecard, and manual means you have to go and inspect manually.
Yeah.
I think, so this is actually a good test case of how, I guess, useful or practical our suggestions were when we created the list of criteria. So if we could bother the maintainers to try and follow these guidelines and then get back to us saying maybe pointing out that some of them are too onerous and are probably not necessary, then we can maybe tweak the guidelines.
Can I add a little bit more information regarding insights? So I know which information you're referring to when it comes to insights. If you go back to the Insights tab, there's a security and best practices tab. And this is actually a fairly new feature that came in, which between the team and everybody, we're trying to tackle all of these percentages that you see here in repo breakdown. So I know that this is probably, again, this is information that is available and that we are taking care of. It might not be explicitly mentioned in the report because this is a new feature that Insights brought in. So at the same time, we're seeing, given all the questions regarding whether Insights it's reliable and we're getting the right information here, that's also the reason why it's not present in the report, because at this point, since this is a new feature, we're still working on verifying the reliability of this information. So that's the other reason behind why this information is not there.
Yeah. Okay. So I know we're at time. I think this is maybe if Jessica, Hendrik, Diane, if you guys can take a look and see that project lifecycle information, see if there's a possibility of getting that information in some way for us. If not, then that's something that we need to understand too, right? That we can't get it, and so therefore, the information that we have there in the project lifecycle not something that we should actually be looking for from our projects. I think maybe we can continue this discussion next week and see if, see if we're ready for a vote then.
Yeah, I believe that there's a way. Jessica did a really good job creating a Google spreadsheet with all the maintainers in it. But I think the ask for this granularity is a little bit on OpenSSF is going to be a stumbling block here because there's not really a tool to report at the level as Hendrik pointed out. So yeah, I'm not sure what to do, and I certainly don't want the request to be hobbled by this. But I do want to comply if we can. But I just don't see a way to get that.
If there's if we can at least understand what we can and cannot get from there, I think that would be useful for the TAC to be able to say, okay, well, we understand, and we're not going to hold you to it until you can get that. I think we can bypass that and say that's completely understandable. But I think if we can look and see what we can get to understand where the project is, I think that will be very useful.
Yeah.
I think it's a
Oh,
go ahead, Hendrik.
Yeah.
I was just going
Okay.
to say it's a limitation on OpenSSF reporting, being able to break down at a granular level like that.
Yeah.
It's not
I think-
anything we can fix.
Yeah, and I think it's not only on reporting. So that is something I would like to do in future, and I assume Jessica agrees here. We have a lot of feedback we can give back to OpenSSF, and so one big problem we had, and from my point of view still have, is at the beginning you've seen we have some projects which are mostly doc projects, documentation projects, which has a low score. So what you today cannot do is say things like, hey, this is a documentation project, so please ignore point or this or that topic, right? And even if we now look at LFX insights, I assume they will get the numbers from OpenSSF, and even if you then see a sum like out of all our projects, those things we currently not getting rid of with doing whatever we can do because it's a problem of the tool, will be a problem here. So I assume what we can do, and I like that idea that maybe especially Jessica, because she's way deeper than I into that topic, but I can find to help her, give an overview next week about what is possible, what is not possible, what problem we had. But I agree with what Diane said. We invested a lot of time into this topic, and I assume there is no way to dig deeper at the current state of the tooling.
Okay, yeah, if we could get that overview of what's possible, what's not possible, I think that'll help us complete this discussion. So let's plan for that next week. And then yeah, I think with that, let's go ahead and close out today's meeting because I know we're over and people probably have to run to their next meetings. But so far I think it's looking good, and I think we can hopefully close out on this topic next week.
Thank you, everybody.